Hello and welcome everyone to this new interview from the series Beyond I'm Not Enough. This series is built under the umbrella of the Regression Fest Beyond I'm Not Enough, the first online regression therapy festival in Romania. And one of our guest speakers in our festival is Trisha Caetano, with whom I will have a conversation on this topic tonight. Thank you, Trisha, for accepting this invitation. It's a great honor to have you on our panel of trainers and therapists.
Thank you for inviting me.
Trisha Caetano is one of the pioneers in regression therapy worldwide. She is from originally from the US, and she has over 40 years of experience in this field, which is amazing. And with this experience, she has her own training program, inner child therapy, and I know that this program brings a lot of healing, but for clients and therapists as well, in such a loving and compassionate way to deal with this very sensitive part of ourselves, the inner child, and to deal with the trauma. And I'm saying this because I saw you working live so many times, Trisha. I had the pleasure to work with you and to learn from you. So uh, thank you
Thank
for
you.
bringing this richness to Romania.
I would like to say that one of my trainings is inner child integration therapy. And the reason I say integration is no one method does it all.
Yes.
And as therapists, we need to learn to be with our client where they are and what needs to be done. And whether it's regression therapy or gestalt or voice dialogue or just common sense, we need to do an integrative approach to therapy using multidimensional methods and multidimensional aspects of the limitlessness of our capacity as beings. And so when people say inner child, I think I need to change that to integration therapy because we're a whole package and we have to be able to open all the boxes.
Hmm. That's very beautiful, and it's an inspiration to therapists to have a blend of their own of all the methods and trainings that all of us are doing in our professional life and in our personal growth. And I love this about you that you are combining very naturally, and it's like it's just flowing. You have it with you,
Yes.
and it's just flowing. Uh, with whatever the client needs in that moment. And I know
Yes.
something else about you, that you are so trusting about the client's capacity and inner resources, and you already see the whole being integrated, that this is very inspirational for me. So maybe you can say something about that, because it has a lot to do with the theme of I'm not enough.
My my approach is what we call client centered, and that means that I'm not the God who knows everything and tells you how to save yourself, or I don't come in there and rescue you. What is the concept is we're a team, we're working together, and so particularly maybe not the first session or the first couple of sessions, but as the client begins to build their foundation, I start assigning the process and the healing to the client. So we do an intake, we get the bridge, we do the regression to the trauma, we process the energy of the trauma, and then we go into the healing. And very often, when it comes to the healing, I'll say to the client, what needs to happen to heal
Mm.
this trauma? And the client comes up with the most amazing solutions that I never could imagine. But by giving the client that responsibility, it empowers them.
Yes.
And so I don't want them dependent. I don't want them needy. I don't want them worshiping, admiring, whatever. I want them to empower themselves. So they don't need we therapists anymore.
Yes, beautiful. And I think at the bottom of all of this need of empowerment from a therapist such as yourself, it has to do a lot with this limiting belief of I'm not enough, which we already know that is formed in early childhood or maybe in the mother's womb. So, can you tell me more about how it shows up in your practice and in your many, many years of experience?
I think that that many of us use regression therapy to get to the trauma, and I think the intake is one of the most important parts of the session because that's where you find out what are their weaknesses, are they visual, are they kinesthetic, auditory. So you have to set the platform up for the person so you as a therapist know what tools to use. And then when your client goes when they go into the regression and they start into the processing, we need to really get out of it. We don't, the way I work is I don't tell the client, now go deeper, deeper, uh, uh, what are you feeling when they already don't answer the questions feeling in the intake. And so what a lot of us already know those methods. What I discovered as I worked was that after the trauma starts, we kind of go into shock. The trauma, the actual physical, emotional part of the trauma ends, but the trauma continues. And then the brain attempts to give that trauma a place in our internal landscape. And the thing that locks in the trauma is the decision or the belief we make after the trauma. And so there's enormous energy that goes into that thought process and then the decision. And the decisions are based on trauma, they're reactive, and they're illogical. And so a parent beats a child or starts screaming at a child, the child cries, goes into their room or wherever, into the corner, wherever they go. And then the brain starts saying, I got to work this out. I got to try and not make this happen again.
Yes.
And because as children, our decisions, the neocortex is not developed. And so our decisions are totally reactive. And those decisions come from the viewpoint, if it's happened, it's my fault. Because in the womb and in birth, we are egocentric. Nature gives us that so we can get our needs met. And so it's all about me. And so if a trauma occurs, then it's my fault. And we draw a conclusion from that. I'm bad. I'm worthless. I'm not good enough. I have to be perfect. I can't make a mistake. And so all of these decisions become locked into the belief system and behavior patterns of the individual. And then instead of conscious choice, we react illogically to the experiences that follow the trauma. So let's say that my father beats me. Mm-hmm. And right before that hand goes up, I see his eyes, and his eyes will make a maybe tension. Mm-hmm. And I know I'm going to be beaten. And so I react to it before it ever happens. So we need to get to, we call the antecedents. What comes before the actual blow? And in this example, the eyes, they tighten. I know I'm going to be beaten, and I get beaten. And so then I grow up and I meet the perfect man, and we're in a really good relationship, and we're happy together. And then he's driving, he gets angry at another driver, and that tension comes around his eyes, and I react. And for some reason I don't understand, I end the relationship.
Mm.
And so the I'm not enough comes from these beliefs that I'm not enough, but these beliefs are formed reactively with no logic, totally primitive brain system,
Yes.
uh, live or die.
Mhm.
If I see those squinty eyes, I'm going to die. I have to get out of here as fast as I can. And so when we know we're enough, we uh, are aware of conscious realities in the moment. And so the eye squint and maybe something starts to come up and I go, wait a minute, this is 20 years later and I love this man.
Mm.
Instead of, oh my God, I've got to get out of here, I'm going to die. And so these beliefs are impacted in the body, in the brain, in the emotions, and they're a pattern. And as soon as that pattern gets triggered by similar circumstances that have nothing to do with the original trauma, but as soon as they get triggered, then I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I have to be perfect. I made a mistake. There's something wrong with me. And so this pattern is an energy field.
Mm.
And this energy field is not only in the brain and the body and emotions, it's also in the energy, it's in the aura, and it has a physical location. It could be in the body, the aura. Usually it's in more, as you know, we go beyond there's many dimensions,
Yes.
energetic vibrations beyond the body. And so we have to be able to, number one, locate that belief. And then we have to be able to uh, uh, access the trauma. And then we have to get the belief. And there's certain methods to get those beliefs. And more than one, of course, depending on your client and how they process. But once you get that belief, then you have to find its location. And then you have to work with the energy to remove that belief from the energetic body, the physical body, the emotional body. And then once we release it, we must replace it with our own centered self, our own powerful energy.
Mm.
That's it. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah,
That's it.
in a nutshell, a few years of
Yes,
of training. Yes.
yeah.
Trisha, I know that you are also working a lot with addictions,
Mm-hmm.
and there is probably a very big link there between the limiting belief that I already internalized about myself, and then becoming addicted to something, to drugs, for example, or to gambling, which are now very, very popular, drugs and gambling as addictions. And there are many, many more, of course. But I would love to, if you can talk about these two.
Um, we look for a way to self-soothe, to make ourselves feel better. And we it's a reactive response as to which addiction and how and why. What gives us that rush that I'm okay? And that's what addiction's about. Is about, like you say, I'm not okay, and that feels horrible, and
Yes.
I'm horrible and worthless, and
It's
God
a
knows.
it's an emptiness inside. When I take this decision about myself, it's already like I'm losing something, and it's an empty place, probably most of the times.
We call it the black hole,
Yeah.
but yeah, and a lot of us have been there, so we know what we're talking about.
Mhm.
But uh, the uh, it's not all about emptiness. It's about anxiety. And so, anxiety disorders you will find here. Uh, it's about narcissism you'll find here that goes with addiction. So, it's again like sexual abuse, it's multi-layered, and we need to peel off those layers. Now, sometimes the response to an addiction comes from a past life, comes from pre-birth, or the natal experiences and the birth experiences. And so we as therapists, and I can show you some ways to identify where do we find the causal incidents to create the need to fill that black hole and the loss of self. And so it's addiction's polarized. Either you're worthless, you're terrible, I hate myself, or hey, this is fantastic, I'm cool, I'm great, this, oh yeah, I'm okay. And so these polarizations of worthlessness and ecstasy, or at least not feeling horrible about yourself, this polarization has to be dealt with. So you deal not only with the trauma and the pain that caused that need to self-soothe, to try and feel better, and then you also have to work with the high or the good feeling. So with any polarization, you have to work on both sides, not just the painful incidents that caused it, but where's the hook into the addiction? And so, one quick example: I was working with a young man. He was addicted to weed and to marijuana, and he was starting to get into harder things. So his parents got him in a drug rehab program, and so he came to me, and his presenting problems were a feeling of pressure in his head, his shoulders hurt, feelings he can't breathe. And so these were just some of the motivators for him taking the drugs. And so I identified the physical aspects, and we started with the pressure on the head. I can't breathe, and there's nothing I can do, was the belief. And so we regressed him. I decided to do a pre-birth, not a pre-birth, but before even coming into the body. Wanted to go back to the selection of the body in this lifetime. And so we went there, and no particular selection. He just wanted to be born in this environment. And so he's above the body, and he targets the body that he's going to take. And so so he goes, oh, okay, this looks like a good environment. Okay, I'll take that body. And so I always thought that sperm hits the egg and we get in, we start into the body. But I've learned as I go along that that's not the way it is with most people. A violent death, previous life, they can sometimes go in and sit in the embryo. But most or many people, what they do is they look for the environment they want, and then they target the body, and then they attach what we call the silver cord to the body. In other words, there's an energetic connection to that embryo, or yeah, to that embryo or fetus, whatever. And so what I found is that we tend to go in and out. And so we hang out around there, check on the body, yeah, it's okay. And then we hang out around there, check on the body, okay. And then I was so surprised to find most people really get into the body and stay in at the point of birth, right before the birth. And so, so anyway, this young man he was just out there, and he was hanging out, and it was just great out there, and he was really bopping around. He just checked the body, it's okay. And then he said, I feel so expanded out here. It's wonderful out here. And then I said, now move forward to the next significant incident. And all of a sudden the client starts going, ah, ah, ah. And so we let that go. And then when the wave comes down, I said, what's happening? He said, it's so tight. It's horrible in here. All that expansion. And now I'm just nothing but trapped in this tiny thing. And so all of the motivations for the drugs was an attempt to re-experience the ecstasy of awareness being out of the body, as opposed to being trapped in this piece of meat that was powerless. And so that extreme polarization was the motivation for him taking the drugs. And so we worked with that, and he was just in the in the therapy, the ecstasy came back without drugs, but with the awareness that he can consciously expand. I am enough. I'm more than enough, and exist in wholeness instead of this polarization. And so I followed his case about another 3 or 4 years. He never went back on the drugs.
Mm.
So if you're lucky, then you get a one shot and it's done. But my experience is with most people that that addictions are multi-layered,
Yes.
and it's a system that's been developed, as I said, with different viewpoints and attitudes. So we have to work with the polarization, we have to work with the pain and the trauma, but we also, and this is something else I do in therapy, when a client experiences a positive experience, I will anchor that.
Yes.
And then during the closure, I will reinforce it. And the client then goes out with that belief, I'm okay,
Mm.
or life is okay, or I can take care of myself, or I am enough.
Which in
And
this case is embodied because he felt it during the therapy and
yeah,
during the
yeah.
guidance. Mhm.
Yeah, and he realized he didn't need the drugs. And so what I did was orient him, and I had to work with the energy here, and that's another whole dimension. But I had to work with the energy of him being in his body and still being aware of his own expansion, his that he was enough.
Wow.
But other addictions I find are multi-layered. One of the uh, one of the most distressing cases I saw was a young woman in Japan. And I had given a public lecture, and a young man came up to me very worried, and he had his girlfriend with him. And he said, I'm so worried about her, and I don't understand. And he said to her, show Trisha. And this girl rolled up her sleeves, and she had cuts. There
Yes.
wasn't a place in her body that wasn't scarred. She had done her thighs, her legs, she had managed her shoulders and back. The only place that was not covered with scars was her face and her upper neck. And so when you're looking at something so violent and so aggressive, you're looking at self hate and you're looking at self loathing. And of course, that's a viewpoint, I'm not enough, but it's carried even further. Um, and so we have to work on so many different levels with addictions. And the other thing I want to talk about, we mentioned earlier, was sexual abuse. Um, uh, People don't understand how this affects a person all across their reality, all across their self-awareness. And so not like the boy who was taking marijuana, but like with sexual abuse, particularly incest, every level has been attacked and destroyed. And on every one of those levels, there's a decision of of it's my fault. I'm bad. He'll kill mommy if I tell her. I mean, all of these things are impacted in the reactive mind, and it can destroy every aspect of a person's life. And so, with addictions, with sexual abuse, with constant abuse, um, we have to um, work on many different levels. I'll give you one more quick example.
Mhm.
I was working with a woman in the Netherlands, and she had a lot of worthlessness beliefs impacted, and she countered that by I'm tough. I don't need anybody to take care of myself. So again, the polarization that I'm talking about. And so we regress back to when she's 4 years old, and she lives in a farm, and her father has to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to milk the cows. And so she is uh, uh, 4 years old. Her father comes, he yanks her out of bed and says, come on, you have to hand me the buckets. So here's this man. He doesn't want to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning. He's walking into the barn and here's this little girl trying to run to keep up with him. And because he, of course, has much longer legs, he keeps hitting her in the back of the head.
Mm.
Hurry up, walk faster. You have to be in there. You have to help me. And so we regressed back to that trauma, and we worked with those beliefs. She's an object, she's a thing, and that's her only value. And so we worked with that trauma, and then I said, what needs to happen to heal the back of your head, which was one of the anchors we started with. And I said, what needs to happen to heal the back of your head? And she said, I need someone to touch me gently on the back of my head. And I reached out and just touched her with all of the compassion for this little girl. And for the first time, really, and she started sobbing and she cried. And then she curled up in my arms and she just cried because somebody had touched her gently. And so there's the work we do. I'm sorry, I get emotional about
I
beautiful
know,
things.
and I love this about you, and I am
I can't
also
help
touched.
it. But the point is that what we do, we're miracle workers, and what we do honors us and honors the people we work with. And I think it's just such an honor to be able to do this work.
Oh, yes, yes. For me as
Yeah,
well, and it's honoring and humbling and full
yeah,
of love and compassion. And that such a moment that you described, it is all worth it, right? To be there and
yeah,
to keep the space for so many tragic and traumatic stories, because it's not
yeah,
easy to hear all those stories that you can even imagine sometimes, as you mentioned.
yeah.
But yes,
I'd
this
like
is the beauty.
I'd like to make one more point here if I could.
Mhm.
That's why in all of my trainings and lectures, I see the number one responsibility is to heal yourself.
Yes.
If I emotionally react to what's going on with my client, I'm either going to become superior and tell them what to do, or I'm going to become afraid and ineffective or reactive myself. And so the true way that we can help people is to be centered, aware, and most of all, not judgmental of themselves or yourself. And so I remember I had a client, I know you have questions, but I had one client who came to me, and she was a very well-known attorney in a very big city. And we started the intake. And then after we were about 20 minutes in the intake, she said, can I tell you something I've never told anyone? And I said, yes. She said, in the last 10 years, I have slept with probably 300 men. And so you're looking at addiction, number one. And number two, you're looking at extreme polarization. And you're looking at her using her sexual energy to try and make herself feel better. But as soon as she said that, I'm having the thoughts that I just expressed to you. Like, what happens to someone that this is the addiction they choose?
Yeah.
And the second thing was just totally present with her. And and at the end of the session, the regression, she looked at me and she said, the only reason I could keep talking was I knew you didn't judge me. And so we need to really do a lot of work on ourselves. And if we're not healing and becoming aware and being enough
Yes.
as a person, as a therapist,
Yes.
then we really need to stop for a while and do our own work.
True.
Okay, I interrupted you. Now,
No, thank you. It's such a precious stories and inspiration, both for us as therapists, as humans. We are also clients of the therapists as well.
oh,
So it's very precious, and it has to do with why I chose the theme of not being enough for this festival, to go beyond I'm not enough, because
yeah,
I've been there. I have been there and I know this so well. And talking with my colleagues, other therapists who are invited to the festival on the panel or in these interviews, we were all affected. And maybe this was the drive at some point, this was the drive for ourselves to start working, to do our inner work, and then to become therapists.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
an important drive that it lies there.
Yeah, I think once you heal yourself, then you can heal others. And so, and it's a process. Years ago, I quit doing my personal therapy because I got to the place where I could pick up my reactive responses and just eliminate them. Again, those viewpoints. Maybe I'm scared or nervous. I've got a big conference and I'm a keynote and I got to be up there. And then I'm really scared. And then, can I give you one more example?
Sure, please.
Okay, I was doing a presentation to a very large audience in San Francisco, and and this will tell you how old I am. I had put together a slideshow. In those days, we did slideshows. We didn't have PowerPoints, and it went with my lecture. And so I go there 15 minutes early to check and make sure everything's set up, and there's no slide projector. And so I said, "Hey, I need the slide projector." "Oh, do you? Oh, no, I don't know if we have one." "Well, maybe there's one in the other room." And so anyway, I go into panic mode, and I am going down the hall. "Do you know where I can get a slide projector? Any idea where you can find someone to give me a slide projector? I have to have a slide projector." And then one of my friends said, "Trisha," she took my shoulder. She said, "Stop." She said, "What's going on?" And I said, "No slide projector, blah, blah, blah." And she looked at me and she says, "Trisha, you have to be on that stage in 6 minutes." And she said, "Put a vacuum hose in your stomach and start draining out all this stress." And as soon as she said, "You're going to be on in 6 minutes," I went, "Yes." I came up to now time. I went on. I gave the lecture to hundreds of people. I didn't have my slides. I winged it and it went fine. And so the more we do our work, the faster we can pull ourselves out of these "I'm not enough." Because if I get up on that stage with all those professional people who are going to judge me, and they do, and then if I'm going to do that, I've got to be centered in now time. I can't be going, "They're going to reject me if I don't find a slide projector,"
Yeah.
And so, anyway, to just reinforce what we're both saying.
And it's very important that you brought this up, because the first thing to get yourself out of this automated pilot that is running these thoughts is to come into the here and now, into the present, when you are an adult, a woman or a man in 2026, and you are this age and you are in this place. And yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
Well, the problem is when you say "come up to now time," you cannot be in now time if you have one foot back in the reactive pattern of the past and the fear of what's going to happen to you in the future. To come to now time takes a lot of work. And another thing is, people talk about the adult self. Well, when I do my work in the healing process, if I want to use the adult self, one of the biggest challenges we have is for the person to be able to be their adult self. Because, like I said to one client, I said, "Okay, so what would you like to say to your child?" Because the child said, "I want you to be with me all the time." That was what the child wanted. And so I thought she was further along, and I said, "So how do you want to respond to that?" And she said, "Well, now, little girl, you know that I'm very busy and I won't be able to be with you all the time." And so I said, "Stop,"
Mm,
because she is asking the vulnerable, afraid part of herself to take care of her adult self who's too busy.
mm,
And so we have to be able to pick up these nuances,
yeah.
these uh, what it's doing to our lives.
Mhm. True.
Okay.
And yes, it takes a process, a whole process, to peel off layer by layer, as you said. And maybe the first step into this process can be this festival that we are organizing in April. And we have 13 trainers and therapists. You, one of uh, one of us is you, Trisha. Thank you.
Yep.
Bringing various themes working with abuse, with abandonment, with illnesses in the body, with creating healthy boundaries, with anger, with breathing as a tool for going through this and empowering ourselves. So there will be 12 workshops for 2 days in this online festival, and one of them is yours. So can you please tell us more about your workshop? What are you going to offer, and what it would bring the participants?
I think that the brain wants some logical reason to be doing any of this crazy stuff we're doing. And so I think we have to give some lecture as a foundation, but not too much. Because for me, you learn the most when you do. And so I can tell you, oh, you shouldn't feel that way about yourself. Now, every time you think that thought, make it positive, which doesn't work. But anyway, so if you experience, then you understand. And there are certain tools and methods to get to these belief systems that anchor in the entire trauma. And so I want to show the participants, hopefully, two methods. I don't know how much time we have.
Three
Hour and a
hours.
half?
3 hours.
Oh, great, great, great. Okay. Yes. So I want to show at least two methods of how we can get to the trauma and grab that belief and work with it, and also how we can start with the belief and go back to the trauma. So I want to show two different entrances. There are more. If we have time, I'll add more to access what encapsulates this trauma on the time track and keeps it reactive.
Okay.
So I think, like I said, if you experience it yourself, you may gain understanding. And so then you can take it and teach it yourself, or use it with your clients. And I have people tell me that all the time. Hey, I used that method with my client. It worked great.
Mm-hmm.
And so that also is a very joyful thing, not just helping one person, but every therapist who takes an idea or a method that I have created and originated over these 40 years and uses it, then I have touched not just one person, but every person they touch.
Mm.
And then every person they touch, their personal relationships get better. And then every person they touch. And so you see what I'm saying here.
Yeah, it's like a snowball that is going down the hill and becoming stronger and stronger and
Well,
bigger.
or the pebble in the pool. You know, the one thing is the one person, but then it continues radiating out and touching everybody. And one more quick comment. When I was in university, we were very idealistic and we were going to save the world. So I came out of university and I said, okay, world, here I am. And the world went, and so I thought, well, now what do I do with my life? And so I realized when I started in this work that we can only help the people who want to be helped.
Yes.
But you, me, all of us, Carlos, Hans, all these, Marion, all these different groups doing this work, we are healing the world, not just one client, not just 5 students or 20 students. We're healing the world. And so that is also a joyful feeling.
Beautiful. Thank you. Just to round up the discussion, do you have a practice or a recommendation for somebody who is watching this interview and maybe they didn't start their therapy, but they are looking for, steps to get closer to themselves and beyond I'm not enough?
Okay. So you want me to do a short process?
If you have one, sure.
I always have one. Okay. So everyone watching this, close your eyes and take a slow, deep breath. And when you exhale, blow. Another slow, deep breath. And when you exhale, blow. Go at your own pace And another slow, deep breath all the way to the bottom of your belly. And as you exhale slowly, blow. Go at your own pace. Recall a recent time when you made a mistake. You did something wrong. And now, in that image or that sensation, move it to just before you made the mistake or did something wrong. And where are you? And just before you make this mistake, what's happening? Feel your feet on the ground wherever you are at the beginning of the incident where you make the mistake. Before you make the mistake, what are you thinking? Listen to your thoughts. Breathe into your body. When you exhale, drop down into your body and feel your thoughts. Now, visually or kinesthetically, start moving through this incident. Feel only as much as you can right now. And move to the point when you become aware that you really made a mistake. You did something wrong. Be there now. Be inside your body. What are you feeling when someone else makes you wrong or you make yourself wrong? Be inside your body at that point. What do you decide about yourself because you made that mistake? Now listen to your words. Be in your body. Where are you holding the energy of those words? Begin to breathe into your body where you hold those words, your body, your aura, and breathe deep, deep into those words and blow them out. Up and out of your room into the universe. Don't hold that energy in your space. Now again, breathing into your body, breathe into those words and blow them out. The next time you inhale, replace what you removed with clear, clean light and energy. Think of something positive if that helps. Use nature if that helps. But begin to breathe in that positive energy and replace those words with this clear, clean, light energy. One more time. Move around in your body, any place else in your body, or your aura where you're holding those words, the blaming, the shaming, whatever you're doing. Breathe into that and blow it out. Breathe clear, clean light and energy in your body, your aura, and replace what you removed. If you need to work on this more later, choose to do that now. But for now, be in conscious awareness where you are now and breathe into your body. And as you exhale, feel your feet on the ground or wherever they are now. Just ground yourself. As you exhale, relax. Breathe in clear, clean light and energy down to your tailbone. As you exhale, flow that light and energy through your body. Say your name to yourself, the age you are today, and take one more slow, deep breath of clear, clean light and energy. And as you exhale, flow it through your body, the light. Relax. Move your attention to the center of the top of your head. Consciously remember your experience. Anything else you may need to work on, choose to do that now. Now feel your feet where they are. Feel your hands where they are. Say today's date to yourself. Take a slow, deep breath and open your eyes.
Thank you. Thank you, Trisha. Beautiful way to process a moment of judging ourselves for the mistakes we made, we make. And we know that there are so many times that we do that.
It's the internal critic. And at some point, we need to work with that whole aspect of ourselves. But are we out of time?
Yes, we are coming to closing this discussion. And in almost 1 month's time, we will see you, Trisha, on Sunday afternoon with your workshop during the first Romanian Regression Therapy Festival. And I guess it's first internationally. I haven't heard of such a festival before. And so we are waiting for you there with enthusiasm and eagerness to learn something more. And if you are curious about this festival, check out the description of Regression Fest Beyond I'm Not Enough in the description below this interview. Thank you, Trisha, so much for tonight.
Well, thank you very much. It's actually my morning. And thank all of you who choose to watch this video. It was nice to connect with you for a brief moment in this time.